Synth UX Academy. This is our third episode of the podcast. I'm going to be talking with Meng today, who is a synth designer and composer, musician from Beijing. The instrument we're going to be talking about is the wing pinger. And the concept that's behind this is based on a principle of synthesis that's called pinging a filter. Now, if you think about a filter is not really a sound source. Traditionally, it's something to tame the sound, to shape the sound. But what you're hearing now is basically a sound that's going, it's just a trigger that's going into a filter here. And when I bring up the emphasis, there's a sweet spot where it actually becomes a beautiful plunking sound that you could create basses from, that you could create rhythms from. It can get quite messy quite fast. And that is what's so amazing about what Meng is doing. He came up with an instrument that plays with this and tunes this in such a way that can really inspire new ways of playing music and creating new sounds. So I'm gonna cut this off because it's gonna drive me mad. Because I did not design an instrument, I just patched a bunch of cables. And his instrument is way more complex than this. Anyway, without further ado, Meng. I love your background, all the instruments there. That's super cool.
Yeah, so I can show you all this instrument. I have almost all the wing pinger prototypes lined up here.
Oh man,
for you.
That is so cool. Thank you so much.
And even the breadboard where this was born.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
So, yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much for taking the time and preparing everything like this. This means a lot, really.
Thank you.
Yeah, so what I wanted to do is to go through, to really focus on one instrument. It seems like you were researching the pinging of a filter. So what I'm really curious to hear first is what actually led to the initial idea.
Well, actually, I've been playing with robotic Blippo box, which is still here. Mm-hmm. You can see two of them. So on that, you can turn the oscillator pretty low, and it's a square wave, so it pings the filters in a way. So I like that sound. I want to expand it. I just play it like a musician, and yes, there are some diagrams online. It's actually with a block diagram. It's actually pretty easy to understand the device. But it has so much depth in this range.
Is it completely analog?
Yes.
Okay. So then the first version you started working on, was it also completely analog?
Yes. It's actually still the sound engine is completely analog. But I would like to say that it's digital in some way, you know. There are some logic circuits. There are CMOS circuits working with work digitally. So I mean, there's no microprocessor. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there are some signals that's treated like a digital signal.
Yeah, and they are controlling the sound circuit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can say it's controlling. But they also goes up to the audio rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is part of the sound.
Yeah, and so how did you start working on the instrument at the beginning? Was it do you keep a sketchbook where you note different ideas, or do you start right away with the electronics? How do you approach the research part, the initial research part?
I think I breadboard each section of the circuit. It's like I put something onto a breadboard to see whether it works and how it works, how it sounds like. basically how playable it is.
Yeah. So at that moment, you're just working with the circuit itself. There are no ideas of how the thing is going to be interacted with. It is only about the circuit and how it sounds.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think if you want to design instrument, you have to have something to play.
Yeah.
Mm.
So you're starting with a circuit like this, and how long does it take to get to the point where you feel like I can actually play this?
When the circuit works, I start immediately start playing with it to see how I can make the sound variable, how variable I can make the sound. So it's an important aspect to determine the ranges of the parameters on the instrument. So yeah, I just immediately start playing with it and to see how musical it is, and whether I'm how much musical ranges and how much experimental ranges I can give to the players. First, I try out ideas with digital circuit. The first thing I did was to use the Synth with analog. I tried to use Synth for some filter pinging sound, and later I switched the filter from digital to analog. And then I make the whole thing analog by ditching the Synth, ditching the MCU altogether.
The version that you shared on with Heinbach, that was in 2019.
Yeah.
Right? So without the keyboard?
Yeah, that's late 2019.
That's late 2019. So the whole process was a few months of work.
Yep. And then a few months is more for the keyboard version, which is the final version.
Yeah. So so if you're thinking about the instrument vision, when you played with Rob's work and you try to come up with your own music with it, and then you moved forward to making your own instrument. What was the vision, the initial vision you actually had for the product? Who would you imagine play this instrument?
I think all my designs came from my own need of an instrument.
Yeah.
So it's not a very it's not a vision directly for the market.
So you really see it as an artistic expression.
Half of it, part of it. I think half of my instrument design is from artistic vision, and other part is from musical. What I say, useful vision to make it more useful, and because it's an instrument, I need to give the players enough freedom to express themselves. You know, some of the more experimental instruments really like art pieces, for which when someone is playing it, it always sounds like the instrument.
Mm-hmm.
There are some instruments like that, and they're good, but I would like to give certain amount of freedom to the players for them to express their own ideas, for them to be unique, which means the instrument should be learnable.
Yes. That is something I find really interesting, because on one hand you are coming from a very personal need, but then within this personal need you are pushing further, and you're saying it's not enough that I'll make an instrument that I can play. It's more than that. I need to push the boundaries further and create something that is that can inspire other musicians to play and sound differently. So you create an open-ended kind of an instrument in that sense.
Yes, you're right.
So the vision of the instrument in that sense is like, I'm starting with my own need, and then I expand on it and I create variations.
Yes, to make it versatile. Yeah.
Yeah, to make it versatile. So what I'm curious about is how do you figure out what other people need?
I don't.
You don't.
I don't. I sort of instead of providing a solution, I would rather give a question to the players.
Yeah.
So I use my instrument to ask a question. So how would you use this instrument? How would you find your own way on it? Let's take an example, the digital section, which is a keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking about balancing the chaotic nature of this instrument with some tonal control.
Yeah.
And then I designed this digital section, the keyboard. And after that, also designed the analog section to be very easily switchable to the tonal playing style. So now when you are having all the cutoffs, which is a pitch, have all the pitches minimum, fully counterclockwise,
Mm-hmm.
the keyboard would play tonal like chromatic scales.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very easy thing to do because on this particular potentiometers I use, there's a very large range of dead range at both ends, the minimum and maximum end.
Mm-hmm.
It's used on industrial panel control, so I think that's the meant to be like that to make sure the value is at 0 or max, right? So with this feature, I can just make it very easy method for the players to switch between noisy, chaotic, and tonal harmonic sound. So they can use this during performance. Right. So with Wing Pinger, what I like to achieve is to be able to offer the musicians both timbres at the same time. I mean, they can be noisy and instantly they can get to the tonal side of the thing and then back and forth.
Yeah.
Very quick.
If you're looking at the first version of the instrument and the last version of the instrument, are there difference in terms of features? Or well, of course, the keyboard. The last one is the keyboard.
Yeah.
But were there other functions that were added during the process?
Not much on the analog side, but I think there were like 8 prototypes in total.
Yeah.
So I've been tweaking the parameter ranges and response a lot. I meant to have mostly musical ranges with extremes, with experimental ranges. So that I want to have a healthy balance of musical and experimental ranges on the knobs.
Mm-hmm.
As well as the placement. I want it to be intuitive. So by that, what I mean is to have something a musician don't need to technically understand how it works, but with the instrument in their hand, instantly they can have it responsive to their gestures.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like something acoustic. But I mean, if you have a snare drum, instantly you can make noises on it, and it's very reactive to your playing style. That's what I'm trying to do.
So,
yes, I can show you.
Yeah, please do.
So this, as I said, is breadboard.
Mm-hmm.
Breadboard. Okay. So this breadboard is where the Wing Pinger was born. It's almost disassembled, but it's still a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first prototype I showed with Timer. This
Mm-hmm.
one, you can see it's totally symmetrical with 2 switches in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So you can put 2 hands here to playing on it. And then I move the switches to the side of it and then change it to a push button. Because I think you can push it with your palm, so you don't need to move your hand to change the switches. But this one is too noisy.
Right.
I also have these marks. You can see this mark is this. It's like a piano keyboard, right? And then I switch to another switch style. Change the markings a bit and tweak the ranges. You can see that from the surface, but I've tweaked the knob ranges with each phototype. I think this is a fourth version. I think this is third, and that is fourth version. It looks similar, but the ranges have been tweaked.
What's the there is a difference there also in the illustration around. There is like a thicker part and a thinner part.
What do you mean by thicker and thinner part?
Yeah, not in this one. In the other one, just the last one that you showed.
Okay. This one.
Yeah, so this one has like thicker parts at the end of the knob.
All right, that shows the dead section. You know,
dead sections.
Yeah, within this range it's all zero.
Okay.
And this one is all maxed.
Right.
That's what I told you about is this the spec of this potentiometer. It has very large dead ranges at both ends. So it's very easy to stay at zero, right? If you accidentally touch it during performance, it's no problem because it's still zero, right? I like it.
Yeah, so it's interesting because then you're signifying also to the user how they might interact with it, and there's like a safe zone in this area.
Right.
Yeah.
I like to indicate it on the instrument, right?
Yeah. And then the next one that came after this.
This is the first prototype with keyboard.
Right.
Okay. You see, it's still symmetric on this side, but after this one, after several phototypes, I changed this one to be unsymmetrical, to be two rows, which goes with these two keyboards. The bottom row goes with this keyboard, and the top row goes with the top keyboard.
Right.
Right.
And the buttons are still on the edges on the right side and the left side.
No.
The switches.
The buttons, the switches are on here in the production version. Yeah, which I can show you later. This is the one next to it. Okay. So you can see the layout is different. I changed the layout of the touchpad.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you maybe show them one next to another?
Okay.
I'm curious to see the differences.
Oh. That's very hard to grab two at the same time.
Oh yeah, I see. So these are the buttons at the top. What do these do? And you also have switches.
Yeah, the first version had switches, and then I changed it to all touchpads.
And how did this idea come to realization? Why did you make this change?
Yeah, trying to make it unified, basically to have the same playing field on all the controls. Because if you have touchpads and switches, it will interrupt your feeling, right?
Right. And is this so how many months are there? The last version of the instrument was released in 2020.
Yeah.
So from 2019 until 2020, you had quite a lot of versions. Each of these versions has different ranges, so you're tweaking the ranges more and more. This, I'm
Yep.
assuming, is based on your performance. So you're testing
Right.
it in your performance.
Right.
And then from there, you're taking a step further with a keyboard, also because of a need that you wanted to make it more open-ended than what it was.
Yeah, I want to give it more possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you started working on also on sort of the same concept, but then with a trackpad of the MacBook.
Yeah.
Or was there
So that's
another
it.
version in between?
That it's not a wing pinger. It's a toy. It's a toy I coded during the 2020 Spring Festival because I was bored. I was too bored. So we can't go out. Yeah.
And it's a pretty interesting. Like for me, this is very beautiful because it's sort of the same research still. You're still exploring the idea of pinging, but then just with another instrument and looking at the possibilities that that trackpad allows you.
Yep.
Was there a version where you also added a keyboard to it, like the keyboard of the Mac, or it was always just the?
It's just a trackpad. It's a toy. I just hard coded to be like major pentatonic, so you always sounds good.
Yeah. Nothing better than a major pentatonic. Anyone can play it. My 3-year-old can play it.
Yeah, but if you play it, well, if you touch it, use a lot of touch on pad, it will become noise because there's internal frequency modulation between the voices. Yeah.
Yeah. So once you had that toy version, did it spark more ideas for future instruments?
Not really. It's just fun.
Yeah. So what's the next step then? Once you have now, so you have so many versions of the wing pinger, and now you're, I'm assuming, working on new stuff. Is it in the same space of pinging a filter, or?
Okay, now I have the Wingney as well.
Right.
Yeah, the Wingney is a resonator. So back in the day, when I was playing wing pinger, I tried it with a Ableton resonator in its feedback loop. I think the result is very fascinating. So it overcomes a short point that of wing pinger, but I think when I try to balance tonal and noisy sound, you can't have them both at the same time, because when some sound is out of tune, just slightly, it's out of tune. It's not tonal in a sense, right? So with the resonator, I think with the resonator, we have the nature quantization of pitches. And you can have all the chaotic thing stuffs going on while you still have a sense of the harmonic structure. Is that right?
Yeah.
So that is what I'm doing next. So I have a lot of some good ideas of it. So to use this resonators as a tool in the signal chain to have the noise and tonal sounds happening at the same time, which is the nature quantization. So you can have a sense of pitches.
Yeah. So it seems like the whole thing is really inspired by nature, because the whole idea of like chaos and, I mean, nature, life. There was that note that Heinbach said that I thought was really beautiful, that the balance between chaos and beauty that we're facing in real life, and then also what you're saying now about using the resonance that is like the natural, sort of like the natural scale.
Right.
The scale of nature that you can bring out of the instrument.
Yes, to Yes, well, yes, exactly. Actually, I just trying to uh, make it more, how do I say? I think versatile is not the right word. I think is the same time is more important. So to have it noisy and tonal at the same time, the very same time.
Yeah.
Right.
So the um, if you're thinking about the oh my God.
Oh, this season, yeah, it's very yeah. They love to do it. You
Yeah,
know,
but
they my neighbor is like doing their room,
yeah,
and they actually drilling the wall. So my other room is out of power right now. So they broke some electrical wires in the wall. It happened yesterday.
that is awful.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
other room is yeah doesn't have any power.
that is awful. Yeah, my
Oh,
neighbor, he's been doing this for about a month and a half now.
yep.
And because this meeting was really important for me, I asked him yesterday, just tomorrow from 11 till 12, can you please not drill? And he was like, yeah, no problem. I'm finishing. I'm not, it's over. I finished it today. And here I
Okay.
hear it now. Exactly, exactly in the middle of the time. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, um,
Okay.
I'm curious about like you had I'm sure a lot of challenges through the process.
Hmm.
Can you think about like a failure that you had that was really devastating and how you overcame it? How you came up with an idea to solve it?
I don't really have any like that failure like that after all this year of failing, right?
After what? Sorry.
Yeah, so after all these years failing, having too many failures all these years, so I'm experienced
Yeah.
to
So
have it. Yeah.
so let's maybe then talk about another experience where you did have failed. Like if you think about 10 years ago or 8 years ago, when you started working and you started making instruments, maybe even earlier. I think you've been doing it for about 10 years now, right?
Uh, right, over 10 years.
Over 10 years.
Yeah.
So can you think about a situation where it was really tough and you needed some inspiration, you needed some like I'm looking for a story from that moment. I know that a lot of students are really facing um, like really frustrating moments that have to do with ideation and coming up with ideas,
Uh,
or with or with the technical stuff that they just like they get stuck and they don't know how to move forward.
just use internet and just try it multiple times. I'm this kind of person that I can't sleep if I have a problem in my brain. So I have to solve it during the daytime, or I won't be able to sleep on that very night. So
That's
yeah, I had too many sleepless nights.
so. Do you can you think about a particular challenge that you were facing that you could share like this anecdote from it?
I think if you're just the students, if students are just starting out, they're making the very first unit or the anytime if they're making a single unit, it's all fine, right? The biggest how do I say depression I had is during the production, the manufacture of stuff. Right? Because something was it was right, it tested and it's working without any problem, and then you made 200 pieces of it and suddenly nothing works.
After the manufacturing.
Yeah. I had something like that. That's staying on my balcony. In my balcony, it was a total failure. So
And in which instrument was it?
I think it was called honey. It was a touch noisy thing
Okay.
shaped. It's a good shape like a Trinket toast. I think as a Yeah, it basically it had an MCU on it. It's based on Arduino, and just after a couple of seconds, it stopped working, and it need to be repowered to work. And I still don't know why it's like that, because all the prototypes worked without any problem. It's exactly the same design file, but suddenly it stopped working.
And you stopped working on it.
Yeah, maybe later. Yeah, because I got bored on it.
It just it won this battle, but there will be another battle.
Yeah, maybe someday I'll come back to it. I already had some ideas of it. Maybe it's because the current was too high for the DC converter or something.
Mm.
But yeah, but I was working on something new at the moment, so I forgot about that, and I didn't have the time to fix it.
Yeah, yeah.
So other than that, all the technical problems are more or less it's nothing. It's just breathe.
Yeah.
I also have some some prototypes I haven't finished yet.
Prototypes.
I'm looking at.
Um,
I had an idea to have a wing pinger with the keyboard replace it by a acoustic resonator. It's like a tongue drum. I already have the PCB fabricated and soldered. It's right now in my drawer. I haven't finished yet. So
can you show it to the screen, to the camera?
you mean no? It's you mean the PCB?
Yeah.
Just wait a sec. Hello.
Yeah.
So this one, it has 5 pickups on it.
Yeah.
And some op amps.
Yeah.
And you can see here is wing pinger EA add-on, which means electroacoustic add-on. Wing pinger.
And this and how would this be with a drum?
This will be use a faceplate, steel faceplate, where I have it laser cut to have some steel tongues that's staying
right
on top of these 5 pickups, and there will be a surface transducer that's putting sound onto the tongue drum. So because each tongue has its own resonating frequency, right?
Yeah.
And the pickup by the sound is picked up electronically and sent to this header to the wing pinger analog section, and then back. And here are some like power and stuff, transducer connectors. I think this one just please.
And this would replace the keyboard, or would be an extension to the keyboard?
Replace the keyboard. It's just a prototype. It's just one of the crazy ideas I had, but I never finished it yet.
Are you aiming to finish it?
Maybe someday.
I think it's a very interesting idea to because the tongue drum is very natural the way I see it. It really feels like something very tactile and natural to play.
I also have a special case made for this prototype. Yeah. It's very heavy.
Okay, maybe you can take a picture later to send me.
Yeah, I need to find it. It's somewhere.
So, but
is
this earlier than the 2019 ideas, or is this afterwards?
Afterwards. It's after the production version is finished. So I got interested with the resonator idea. I want to make more experiments. Yeah, so I started this.
You just brought an idea to my head that we could do some sort of like focus groups where musicians, where designers like you in different continents work with people in the community of
Yeah.
other like younger maybe designers and musicians, and working together to give feedback to one another, to test instruments and give feedback to one another, to inspire more like adventurous and craziness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's something I'd like to do. I'd like to have a more of a how do I open minded for the how do I say for the science community or what. So that's just one of the ideas. I'm going to like hear what people say about my instrument. Just instead of doing everything on my own in my corner. So this is like I think it's from the change of myself. I think that now I'm more open to the world. I think is I accept. I really like the variety of people. You know, the different thoughts, the different viewpoints. So I think each person have their own world. You know, because we have different viewpoints of everything. So
Yeah.
if the musicians it's actually fascinating to get a glimpse of their work through musical instruments, right?
I
So
I
that's
I definitely think so. Yeah.
Mm.
The way that I teach students like face to face in the academy
Yeah.
is we work towards a deadline that is quite short. So maybe they would have something like 2 weeks to come up with the idea, just the initial idea. And then from that moment, on that day, on that 2 weeks lesson, they would need to sort of pitch their idea to other people in the class, and to see if their idea is clear. And normally their idea is not clear yet, because it's like showing your breadboard and you didn't really realize it yet. But I'm trying to make a point and to show them that sometimes you need to understand yourself first before you communicate it to the world. Funny enough, some people can actually nail it really on, like in 2 weeks they have a very clear vision of what they want to make. But then after about 6 weeks of the course, they need to have some sort of a prototype that people will be able to test. And this is very fruitful because they realize that their ideas are really interesting, but then once they start bounce ideas with other people, their ideas are amplified. So all of a sudden, their research process becomes way faster. They can come up with more ideas, and like within a week or two, they all of a sudden have much more of a substantial design in their hands.
Right.
And we work like this every about 4 weeks. They have to make some sort of a presentation and show the new variation, the new prototype of their instrument, which is very similar to what you're doing. So I find it interesting because I think that a lot of creative people, a lot of artists start always from their own mind. They have an idea. I want to explore this thing. I got inspired by Rob's work, for example, and then I want to make my own thing because I feel like I can like, it's really cool what he did, but I can make like my own variation of this inspired by what he did. So I find this very inspiring to see how a student takes a piece of inspiration and then makes their own variation, and all of a sudden it becomes their complete thing. Like when I look at Rob's work and I look at your work, of course there is reference points there, but at the same time it's a completely different thing. It's not it's definitely not a copy. No one can say that. And sometimes when you talk to students, they find it really hard to start with inspiration like this because they feel like they're stealing. It's not original anymore.
Well, nothing's original.
Nothing is original. That is
if
that
you
is a
put it
very
like that. Yeah.
yeah, that is a very good point, because anything is
Yeah.
based on something else. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, even the Minimoog or things like like the theremin are all based on something that inspired them. Everything is coming from, like, our ideas are always built on inspiration. I'm actually curious about your inspiration. If you think about the way that ideas come to your head, what kind of things, like, are there specific books that you like reading, or like specific topics that you explore because you're fascinated by them, that are that are further from the music itself?
The books I love to read, apart from literature, from novels, I'm mostly interested in psychology and sociology. How do I say?
Yeah,
Which
sociology
is
and
the sociology. So psychology is about the knowing one person,
Mhm.
and sociology is about knowing the behaviors of a group of people.
Mhm.
So yeah, this year I think I'm just interested in human in people.
I think that's beautiful. Do you have any recommendation for a specific book or a writer?
Yeah. Well, the problem is like all the books I get are in Chinese. They have a Chinese name, so I can possibly translate them without knowing the actual accurate English words. But I can take some pictures later. All
that
right.
that would be cool. That would be cool. Yeah. Um, yeah, I find it also interesting because I always ask students to make mood boards that go beyond what they are making. If they're making a musical instrument, I want them to take pictures of architecture. I want them to look at, like, books, documentaries, even just films, animations, illustrations, paintings, and just
Yeah.
try to see what they find interesting in these things.
Yeah, the mood board, it's very good idea.
Yeah. Are you making any mood boards for your designs?
Just recently, I just started collaborating with a very nice, very good designer. So yeah, we did some mood board stuff.
Did you have mood boards for the wing pinger?
No.
So for the next designs, you'll have some mood boards.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm very
There's some
interested. I'm very interested
painting.
in seeing these.
Uh, mm. You mean the mood board?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think there's a painting. I can show you later.
I
I
think.
can.
Yeah,
Uh,
you can also share your screen if you want.
okay. So wait a bit. Wait a moment. Mood board. Share screen. Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it gone? No. Okay, so
These are beautiful.
this is a painting by Hans Hartung.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Composition T, right?
Mm-hmm.
Messed up? Should I?
And no, go, just keep it. You can scroll between them. I find it really interesting. Let's talk about this. So, is this related to a specific project?
Yeah.
That's like the next project.
Yes. The upcoming project, which is ongoing.
Okay. Is it okay to talk about it, or you prefer to not to
Yeah, I
share?
prefer to keep it a little bit secret right now.
Okay. So what I'm then interested, whatever you feel like sharing about this, you're collecting visuals that are going to inspire the sound, the interface.
No, this is the interface.
This is only for the interface.
Right.
Okay, I'll keep this a secret.